understanding MedTech investors, the people perfecting the art of striking the balance between return on investment and impact.
Hi everyone. First of all, I'm really excited to be here. I guess you hear that all the time. But for me, this is a very, very, very special day. And I want to tell you a short story starting this keynote. I'm 36 years old, 32 years old. Something not very happy happened. I used to, I almost had a small brother. And week 36 into my mom's pregnancy, the fetus died due to umbilical cord strangulation. He was strangled by the umbilical cord. And the good news is that my son, who is now held by my wife over there at the back, almost suffered the same fate. And the only reason that did not happen is due to medical progress and better doctors. So for me, by the way, this is especially special today because this is the first time he attends any keynote I'm giving, as he is 3 months old. So my keynote is about understanding the people investing in MedTech, and I'm sure there's quite a few in the crowd. I know one personally over there at the back, which basically perfect the art of balancing ROI and impact. ROI is return on investment. He agrees. So I want to give you a bit of context. Last year in numbers, we've had a sharp decline in IPOs of medtech companies, 99% decline. That's crazy. At the same time, only 21% decline in medtech investments. We had funds managing to raise little and less funds. Funds that, by funds I mean VCs and hedge funds that are practicing health tech. At the same time, we've had a record year, and this is a bit of a dichotomy because it's a record year, it's been a record year in the approach to the FDA and the approvals of requests for either exemptions or certifications. So, in order to obtain investments and obtain funds in the medtech field, we need to take into consideration who are we approaching. And as you saw in the panel just before me, which I wasn't counting on, by the way, the people that invest in medtech and the entities are different. We've had angel investors, we have VCs, we have corporates. Corporates, for example, can be medtech companies, medical device companies, pharma companies. For example, we've worked with quite a few companies who got invested by Pfizer's VC. One of our companies right now is engaging with Merck for an investment. And Johnson & Johnson has worked with one of our enterprises in the past. So corporates are really special in that sense because unlike VCs and angels who basically are in the search of just the ROI, the return on investment, and the multipliers thereof, these guys are also in the look of combining our enterprises, our startups, and our ventures into the suite of services or products. So what are the considerations the investors usually take into account? Normally, some investors are impact-driven, especially in the medtech field. When I agreed to give this talk, or actually asked to give this talk because it's a favorite topic of mine, in the build-up to this, I spoke to 4 investors, 2 of which told me they're looking at impact first. Now, why is this special? Because this is almost unique to our field. If you look at enterprise software, for example, no investor would say they are interested in impact. So this is special. But the second one, and this is something that came up for all investors, they are also revenue driven. So the consideration we need to take into account is basically balancing the two. And not just that, but there are other factors. A very important factor is managing our funds correctly. And knowing the regulatory runway and route we need to take into consideration. Because it will take almost any medical device or drug, for that matter, goes through a regulatory route and gets approved by the proper regulators, sorry. So to that end, we need to make sure we are informed and we plan our burn rate correctly. Also, another thing we need to take into consideration is the ROI, return on investment, urgency. Some investors are in it for the long haul, meaning until we build $1 billion, a unicorn company. Some are looking for short-term investments. They are in it for small exits. Now, in addition to taking into consideration who are investors, we need to take into consideration the wide market and the market conditions. In the last year, we've had a macro environment which was not so friendly to investments. The high interest rates are damaging both the investors and the entrepreneurs who seek investments. In addition, we need to take into consideration regulatory challenges that any company faces when raising capital. We need to know what hurdles we need to come across and what hurdles we need to get over in order to get to the regulatory approvals or exemptions. And we need to know the cost of this route, the cost of experts, the cost of lawyers, and so on. And we're talking about startups, right? So that's the usual challenges. How to build a team, product market fit, scalability, all that. Not a simple task, right? So how do we improve our odds? First of all, build a strong team. A VC I knew once said that when looking at a startup, this is, by the way, one of our country's top VCs. He said to me, the general partner said to me, when looking at startups, what he first looks at is the team. A team that has the first managerial, and second, leadership capabilities. Notice that I didn't mention technological abilities yet. So he's first looking at managerial and the leadership abilities in order to estimate whether they can bring the great technological development they're making into practice from 0 to 1, from 0 to a product with a product market fit. Second, the regulatory route. We need to plan for it, know what is our burn rate and how much funds we need. Third is we need to protect our intellectual property. Hey, I'm a lawyer still. So I'm here to tell you patents are important, copyrights are important, know-how is important. If you're a founder that has been involved with a hospital, medical institution, or a school, that's something you need to take into consideration because they usually have some of the intellectual property rights, if not all of them. Next, you need to know the investor. We've gone over it, but it's worth the emphasis because it's really, really, really important to know who you are approaching and what drives them. And last but not least, where possible, be revenues driven. Because as I said, some people look at impact first, but all of them look at revenues. Thank you.